Hi, quite some people asked for my Shield Knight setup, so here I am doing a quick overview. That being said, this is my take based on my circumstances, so feel free to disagree. I will just quickly go over my stats, the Imagins I use, as well as my talent tree and skills. So for stats, our most important stat is haste. While haste itself only provides attack and cast speed, with our talent it also provides faster resource regeneration. This is great for offensive and defense. From my experience, roughly 30% haste or a bit more is great, especially for auto combat. In manual play you can get by with a little bit less. Second and also recommended stat is Mastery. Mastery provides us with a buff to the HP received from our class mechanic. Since our biggest defensive tool is our big HP pool, or skills or talents based on it, it's great again for offense and defense. Also because our main DPS skill, or rather talent, is also based on max HP. And the third stat would be Versatility. Stat itself provides a buff to damage dealt and healing and shield granted, as well as a buff to damage reduction, so we get less damage. For a maximum damage setup, we would actually want to use crit, but that's not what I am aiming for at the moment, so I haven't tested the stat distribution. It is probably more viable once we get to level 80 gear, because we will have the gear for a longer time, so we have time to get multiple setups. As you can see currently, I'm at roughly 32% haste with 2153 haste. For bosses, I mostly swap out Tempest Ogre, which I currently have equipped, for Celestial Flyer, which gives me another 2000 haste, but it only results in a roughly 60% increase, so half of what I previously got from my 2k haste. Great example to showcasing diminishing returns, so always have an eye on it. So let's get straight into Imagins. Tempest Ogre and Frost Ogre. In my opinion, tanks in Blue Protocol don't have two general best in slot Imagins. Some offer utility, some others offer buffs or increase our own damage dealt. That being said, us being a tank class, Tempest Ogre and Frost Ogre are the bread and butter for the tank role. They also go great hand in hand, because on paper they share the same cooldown, and Tempest Ogre allows us with its active ability to pull in a large group of monsters or even whole areas in a dungeon. And Frost Ogre active ability instantly freezes all the mobs and breaks them, so they, one, receive more damage and die quicker, and second, they can't hit us, so we don't drop immediately. Even with Season 2 Imagins coming up, there are no Imagins that rival the utility those two provide, so for now it makes them future-proof. If you want to get more flexible for single target scenarios or bosses or raid, I would recommend swapping out Tempest Ogre and keeping Frost Ogre. Tempest Ogre loses most of its main value, the big pull, in a single target scenario, and the bit of damage or damage reduction it provides isn't really needed for boss fights. Instead, as a purple option, you could use Jungle Goblin Warrior since it provides a passive boost to strength, which improves our damage and armor, so tankiness, as well as further increasing it with its active ability. I currently use Celestial Flyer, just as mentioned before, for the boost to haste, just for quicker attacks and resource regeneration. In case you don't want to keep Frost Ogre for the additional armor break and option it provides to skip mechanics if you break a boss at the perfect timing, you could actually use Jungle Goblin Warrior or Celestial Flyer both together. Since tank is also taking a utility role, even Imagins like Venopsar, which I have decided to go for, but also Brigand Leader or Tina offer great value because they buff our own damage as well as our team's damage. Irona could be a valid option, but I don't really like using her. For farming content like Master 1 or in the future Master 6, it is quite easy. We don't need an Imagin to revive anyone because no one should die in the first place. And if you want to push for really high master tiers, it's all a race against the timer. So we would want to have an offensive or buffing Imagin instead of Irona. Also because if we have to use Irona, it means someone died, which also gives a time penalty. So might as well restart the whole dungeon for your perfect clear. As you can see, I also have Goblin King, but I wouldn't recommend it for Shield Knight. It doesn't provide much value in my opinion. I simply have it because I play Wind Knight Vanguard as a DPS spec and it's great for Vanguard. So let's jump to the talent tree. The base tree, you have to pick it anyway, so I will skip it. It's the same for every shield spec. So let's go quickly over all the other talents. I decided to go for, from my point of view, the most offensive setup possible, while still picking up all the mandatory talents. So this one is important for us to reduce the cooldown of Radiance, one of our defensive skills, and the other one a little bit below is used to reduce the cooldown of Seal Crusade, so we can maintain Seal Crusade permanently. Another important talent will be this one because it changes our one skill and allows us to get a haste buff, 3% per stack up to 10 stacks, so we gain 30% extra haste during combat. In addition to this talent, there's also one down here, which further boosts, or actually doubles the amount we get, so we can get up to 60% extra haste. Another important talent would be this one, providing a 200% max HP damage absorption shield after casting our ultimate, and having roughly between 150 or 200,000 HP in combat. This would be like a 300 to 400k HP shield. So using our ultimate to absorb tank busters makes this one very easy. Another talent I would like to point out would be Ruthless Rewind, because this one is our top DPS. We basically gain stacks, and once we have 3 stacks, we have an AoE around us dealing damage equal to 6% of our max HP. That's also why Mastery, increasing our max HP, provides also offensive value, because it's increasing this talent's damage output. One more important one would be this one. So while we're in Divine Circle, which will be automatically cast every 30 seconds on Judgment cast, we take 10% reduced damage. So on the first Judgment cast after entering combat, we have a 10% less damage taken buff, which is great, so we can get all the other defensive skills or talents or resources up running. Okay, and lastly, I would like to go over my skills. It's pretty basic. Our 3 standard skills, Judgment for self-healing and as a resource spender, Sacred Blade also as a resource spender, and best skill to build up Lightforged barrier stacks. Also great for damage. Radiance as our nearly permanent damage reduction, 40% of max HP. And Zeal Crusade, which consumes 8 Lightforged barrier stacks and deals damage and heals us afterwards. You can also put skill books into Divine Circle because it will be automatically cast every 30 seconds when using Judgment without having it equipped, but would be the last priority. For advancements, as most guides already say, I would start with Judgment, Steel Crusade, Radiance into Sacred Blade, and in the end Vanguard Strike, Blade of Justice and Radiant Infusion. Just in case you are not playing Shield Knight or haven't played it so far but are interested in doing so, I think Shield Knight is great for auto combat. It basically does all its rotation on its own. Only downside would be auto combat is not prioritizing building up our haste buff. So if you want to be more efficient in the beginning, you could play manually to get the haste buff running as soon as possible. Also, never use your ultimate besides for tank busters. If you keep it for tank busters, you never have to worry about them again. Also quite important, keep an eye on your shield meter right in the middle of your screen. That's an additional shield you build up over time, up to 100% of your maximum HP, and whenever you take damage, that shield absorbs 50% of it, which can make, basically doubles your HP and makes you a lot tankier than you are on paper, but can also make you a lot squishier if you have no shield built up. And in the first few seconds is the point when our class is the weakest, so don't hesitate to actually dodge some skills manually till we get all our defensive setups running. I hope this quick overview helped you out. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment and enjoy playing Blue Protocol. Bye.